as a viewer on the other side of the world, can feel the vibe. Euros just hit different.
I mean, America was crazy because of their fans, but when you come to a European one, Motocross Nations, the whole fans come out, fancy dress, costume, the Irish are dressed up as leprechauns.
I met a gypsy.
I will say I like the Jeffrey Hurlings that will get 2/4. Like, we've never seen that dude. And we've only ever seen the guy that's won 5 world titles and crashed out of 5 world titles. Like, I personally am not mad at the Jeffrey Hurlings that has like the tiniest slither of like self-care, self-preservation kick in for maybe the first time in his career to go like, all right, I'm not at 100%. And like, he's got on the podium, he's won, and he's got 4, like, it's a pretty good batting average.
Yeah, and he's not getting any younger, and you know, after the injuries that he's had, at some point, you know, riders who are used to just sort of like throwing themselves down the track and picking themselves up as if nothing's happened, even with major injuries, they still pick themselves up and, you know, they just blank it out of their mind. But I think this one, that whole year that Jeffrey had off, he's had a lot of time to reflect, not for the first time in the last, you know, couple of years, you know, because 2020 COVID year, he had that neck injury that ruled him out. Didn't rule him out for the season, but it put a scare on him, you know, and then obviously the surgeries that he's had with the injuries that he's had recently. So we are seeing, as you say, 2 4th place finishes or whatever it was that he got in Switzerland. It's like, okay, cool, back it off. If I haven't got the pace to challenge for the win or the podium, fine, I'll take those 36 points for 2 4th place finishes or whatever, because they are going to be important, because he knows more than anything else, if it's going down to the final round, you need every point that you can get, especially when we saw what happened in 2021. You know, because when he had his shoulder injury when Monticelli landed on him in Holland, in that first race, a race that he came back and won, by the way, and couldn't line up in the second race.
He's had the gnarliest races though.
And the crappiest luck as well, you know, because even then he couldn't show up in Czech Republic to race. He then showed up in Lommel, where everyone's like, oh, will he come back and just wax everybody? He was on form, but he didn't win the GP, but he was picking up points and showing everybody that, hey, I'm still here. That's not, apart from the win that he picked up in Sardinia, he's just not, he's not showing that enough at the moment. Yes, we know he's there and still can be a threat, but you know, when you're Argentina so-so, got on the podium, great. Sardinia win, Switzerland off the pace massively, but riding smartly and more mature than we've seen in the past. You know, he knows that when it comes down to it, if he does find vintage Jeffrey knocking around in the race truck, then you know, he knows how to take it to the final round. He knows how to pick up every crucial point. We saw that in Sardinia by, you know, because I think I think he was on the podium, but then it was like off the podium, and then he was like,
it was a bit of a yo-yo.
Those two in front of him were back and forth, so we needed to pass this, you know, Roman to be on the podium, and then Maxim, and then both of them to win it. And you know, we didn't think 10 minutes out the gap was huge. You know, didn't think it was possible. So we were just talking podium terms. Then all of a sudden the win falls in his lap in terms of if he can pass those two. So I think Jeffrey at the moment, not vintage, not expecting him to be. Don't think anybody is. And I think anybody who is expecting him to be sort of Jeffrey of old is pretty delusional at this moment, because he's been through a lot of shit, and he's just still trying to find himself, I think, within the lineup, you know.
So he's, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's at 100 GP wins. And 103 is
101.
101. Okay. So if he wins, let's say he wins here this weekend. Where does he rank in your all-time GP rider list? Like, how far off is he being called the best ever?
You know what?
Do you think about it much?
You know what? You just hit the nail on the head a minute ago when you said won 5, lost 5. You know, he's lost 5 and he's still got 100 GP wins. It's insane. You know, Stefan Everts won 10 titles and 101 GPs. He also had 2 seasons back to back where he was injured.
And he was able to ride multiple bikes as well at the same event.
But he also, the 2003 when it was one moto was a GP win. You know, I think he won 14 or 16 races that year. Yeah. So those races, you know, but that was. You know, if that was now, they're the rules, and you play to them. You know, they're GP wins. So
that's why this conversation's fun, though.
Yeah.
Because you get to play off so many variables.
Exactly. But then when you look at the titles that maybe he could have won, so he won in 2012, 2013, 14 is when he broke his femur and lost the championship by 4 points. Tried to come back in Mexico, and I spoke to him. Did I speak to him, or was it somebody else I spoke to fairly recently? That the week leading up to Argentina, he was walking okay, and then he tried to get on the bike, you know, to see if he could even get on the flight. He rode, and rather than just ride around and just go,
he did a moto.
Yeah, I'm okay. It was like, oh, I need to do a moto, and I need to go fast, and whatever else. And then he damaged muscles around the bone and things like that, which is why he ended up walking in like a wobbly wheel, you know, just whatever. And then he ended up just riding at the back. So all you need to do, get on the plane, is know that you can ride. Yeah. You know, okay, it's gonna be uncomfortable, but just get on the plane, ride, cruise around in practice, cruise around in time practice or the qualifying race. Try and put one good moto in. That's where you need. And I think what we're seeing now is a result of not just that injury, but many injuries from Jeffrey, where he's just gone, yeah, back then I was, you know, stupid, you know, young, dumb, full of cum kind of thing, and just like, you know, the old Jeffrey was like, I need to be on the grid, and I need to be, even with this injury, 110%. Doesn't need that. And you like it, I like it, you know, that, because also not just the, we don't know what Jeffrey we're going to get from week to week, you know, it keeps the championship interesting as a result of that. Yeah. But certainly, if he surpasses Stefan Everts, you know, which he should do this year, he's on 100. He needs 2 more to be the most successful Grand Prix winner in that respect. He could finish his career with, you know, 6 or 7 titles. Could have been 12 or 13. Yeah. And I think from that side, possibly you got to look at him as the, you know, yeah, for sure one of the best. The best, I don't know. It depends how you determine it. Is it on Grand Prix wins or World Championships? Because, you know, Stefan on 10 and Tony on 9.
Yeah.
Will he match them? Don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a big ask. And I think that's what's cool, though, is like you said, I mean, Tony's probably the GOAT, really, of MXGPs, because you consider those factors we talked about with Stefan and the modern era that Tony did it in and the competition that he did it with, and not to come from a motocross family either. Like, really came from obscurity when it comes to being a motocross superstar. Maybe you go, like, he won the 9 titles, he didn't win 10, but the era that he did it in, the way that the GPs were scored with, you know, the format, like, maybe it's Tony.
Yeah, and also, and that's it, 9 titles, and again, he lost a couple just
so
through
close,
injuries and things like that. But you're right with, you know, where he came from. Jeffrey's dad raced, you know, sort of in the sort of 80s, late 80s or through the 80s and early 90s. Stefan's dad, you know, 4-time world champion. Good. He did all right. Yeah. And then, you know, when you've got Tony, whose dad was, I mean, there's a documentary coming out soon, if it's not already out soon, and it's based on, you know, him and his career and everything else. And when there's sort of like the beginning, you know, the early sort of stages about how they used to sort of turn up and in a van, and, you know, I think it was like a local dude sort of lent him a van and things like that, just so they'd go to the races and things like that. He'd sleep across the front seat of the van, you know, as the bed and things like that. Proper humble beginnings. Yeah. Even when they realized that, you know, it's not going to happen if you stay on the mainland, you know, here in Sicily. Yeah. You need to be on the mainland.
That's the other crazy thing, is like where you come from.
When he was like 13 or 14. Yeah. Without parents, you know, that's a guy that wants it.
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.